Good morning and welcome to Morning Coffee with Brigid. I'm Brigid Burke, and it is now the 11th of October. And we're steadily moving towards the center of the month. Good morning, Alex. And how are you today? I'm having my big cup of coffee here. I love this mug that Natalie gave me because it's I can fit 2 cups. I can fit, I basically, really it's probably like 4 cups in my brewer, but they all fit into this one, and usually 1 cup for me, one mug full is like 2, so this is basically a double. That way it doesn't get cold. Good morning, Sam. Just getting started here. Big cup, yeah, big cup today. Sleepy, yeah, exactly. And and I should say good afternoon, Sam. I always do that. I always say morning when it's actually, well, it's just gone noon, I think, where you are, at least until British summertime ends, and then I forget what that's gonna change to. But it was quite an incredible night last night. If you saw the photos that I posted last night, I ended up having I was able to get I call it the solar storm. Really, it's saying it's the aurora borealis. I don't know. I guess that's technically kind of what it is. How those solar flares interact with the sun energy. Morning technically starts with this live stream. Well, there you go. Actually, I know quite a few people. Good morning, Pat. I know quite a few people who don't start their morning until noon. So that's all fair enough, actually. What was it? Last night and good morning, Jenny. The solar storms, and actually now Jenny's popped on. There's this perfect synchronicity here because it was Jenny who texted me a picture last night of her picture of the solar storms, and I went, oh wow, she just got that. So I just thought, I'm gonna go outside with the iPhone, no filters, no nothing, no change. I just went out and just started shooting pictures on the street, down by the cemetery. I walked into the cemetery to some degree, and then just above the trees above my neighbor's house, and I got these incredible shots, including that really bright purple sky that's in one of them. I was just like, whoa. I mean, that's not usually what happens when I take pictures at night with my phone. Usually I get nothing, or I'll get kind of something grainy. But good morning, Suda. It was quite a crazy night with those, with the aurora. And I actually took a photo this morning. Sometimes if it's not as close, I have to change the vibrance setting just so that you can see it. And this morning I did that, and you can actually see there's still like a purple wave through the sky. But last night I didn't need anything. It was just like right there. And actually, if you looked at the sky, it didn't look quite the way it did in the pictures, but you could see, like, if I really looked, I could see kind of, there's a lower layer of like blue sky, and then there's this layer of like violet, like really bright purple right on top of it. Yeah, it was beautiful, wasn't it? And so, and I don't know if it was as strong in the UK, because I did see some photos from the UK, but they kind of reminded me of the last time I took pictures. Some people did get some stuff. Might have depended on where you were, maybe how far north you were, but it was quite a thing. Yeah, she's asking. Yeah, Sam asked whether or not you were able to see it. I'm curious to know if up in Yorkshire, if whether or not that was they were able to see that. Good morning, April. We were just talking about the last night's solar storms, which were quite spectacular around here, and like I said, the photos I took were not. I didn't have to adjust any settings. I go to sleep at 9 p.m., so I missed it. Woke up this morning with my friends sending photos. Well, yeah, and actually, truthfully, I would have missed it too if, like I said, if Jenny hadn't texted me her picture, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I was going to go out and see if I could get pictures of this, couldn't it? Me too. Yeah, exactly. So it was really, really, really nice. And I don't know. Sometimes when you have these storms, it affects people in different ways. Some people have trouble sleeping. Oh, God. I need to, I don't know what, I have to figure something out with the morning allergies because they're really annoying. But Alex, I missed it too, but other people in Michigan saw some of it. I was tired. Yeah, well, it's fair enough. I have been, my days and my circadian rhythms and my clock has just been very weird lately. I'm just kind of lucky that I wake up by 6 so that I can do this live stream at 7. it's very much it's a very interesting time, and I do know that the solar storms certainly can make. I think they can make you either extra tired or just extra wired. I mean, they can kind of go either way, I guess, depending on how your energy interacts with the energy of that. But it's been pretty wild, and so okay. You know what? I didn't think. One thing I did not think about today was what the ghost story would be for today. I can't. If I come up with something before the end, I'll tell you. You were wired. Okay. For me, initially, I had a little trouble sleeping, but then I kind of felt like I slept like the dead most of the night because I didn't wake up. I woke up at 4:44, and then I fell back to sleep for a while. But yeah, the energies are strong, and Pluto has just gone direct. Okay, I think it's gone direct pretty much across all the time zones we're in now. So, yeah, we are finishing up. My messages from Azrael this morning, he was just like, he said something very interesting to me, and it kind of ties into what the theme of what he wanted me to talk about today. And the theme of today had to do with, what was it? The card that I got in the Osho Zen deck was guilt. And guilt is the Eight of Swords. Now, what this has to do with, and this sort of pointed out is very important to me, is that because he said, you know, this is the same thing that we've been kind of going through. I mean, it's not new. I mean, all of us. I've been talking. Those of you who are clients of mine, you know, we've been talking through we understand. You know, even if we understand what we think the path forward is or what it should be. Yeah, here's the card right here. I'm going to find it. It's this one. Even when we understand the path forward and what we think it should be, we have a hard time because we don't really know any other way to be. It's kind of what I say about people who go back and practice pagan religion and then they do it in a very Christianized way. It's because, well, if that's the tradition that they come from. And it's like, well, that's because they don't know any other way to be. We don't have, we're not taught a whole lot of other examples in mass culture of how to do things. And certainly the way that our consciousness tends to work, as I mentioned the other day, consciousness tends to be a defense mechanism. The way in which we think, the way in which we, the way we bring our thoughts into in a situation. Any kind of situation that we're in, you walk out and you encounter something that's different. You encounter something, it could be something that's very, very beautiful. It could be something that is very, very, that leaves us maybe a little bit uncomfortable. Oh, Jenny said she lost sounds. Talk about other things the storms affect. Oh, okay. Hopefully Jenny will get her sound back. If not, of course, there's always a recording. But it's, when we have this, when our minds tend to get involved with things, whatever's going on in our life, whatever experience we're having, the mind immediately wants to jump in and take control. Okay, I'm going to analyze. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. This is the way our consciousness has worked. Now, whether our consciousness has always worked this way is a question people have had, but there's no way. There's lots of theories about what early consciousness may have been like. A lot of anthropological theories and people who do, kind of history of mind. And good morning, Joanne. There's a tendency of the mind to take over. But it's not just about what we're dealing with in the present. It's not the fact that we tend to lose the moment. Okay, we tend to lose the current moment of things because our mind wants to get in and start interpreting it. It goes back a little bit to that story that I mentioned over the summer when I went to go see Amma, and she had been talking about the man going out to get his favorite ice cream and spending the whole time thinking about all of this stuff while he's eating the ice cream, and gets to the last bite and realizes he's never tasted any of the ice cream, right? It's that kind of a thing, where we don't, our mind gets involved and we don't actually allow ourselves to have the experience. I've also noticed that it is also a sense that when we're moving into a new space, that we want to, when we move into a new space, we feel like we're constantly evaluating as we go along. And I think that's the aspect of mind that we were talking about today. And what we do is when we have a new experience, we immediately start looking, going, am I doing it right? Okay, that's really the summary of it. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Now again, there's times when perhaps that's the appropriate thing, but we tend to do that with everything. And when you're in a new beginning, a lot of times when the advice is just let the situation be, just let it be what it is, just keep moving forward. And if you don't know what to do, just do the things that you need to do, right? So if you are, okay, so a lot of times what's changing is changing in our own mind. It's not necessarily a whole lot has changed, at least immediately, in the external world. I mean, sometimes external things will happen and we'll go, whoa, and that's kind of like a calling you out already. Well, I mean, this is what everybody does, Joanne, though. I mean, it's really, it's just the way of things. It's not something, it's funny, the card is called guilt, and we tend to feel guilty about that. Like, why can't I let this go? Why can't I just do this? Why can't I just, and then we start to feel bad about it. We start to feel bad about ourselves and think, oh, I'm not doing it right. But that is actually just part of that critic that is constantly not only trying to get you to worry about things, but also trying to get you to feel like you have to do it perfectly right out of the gate. Now, I was watching a set of videos the other day that popped up into my feed for reasons. But there's a guy called Ken Tamplin who is a vocal coach. I guess he's a really popular one. He's got like over 1 million followers. As soon as I saw his personality, I disliked him immediately because I said, this guy, and I know this is going to sound really... I don't know, maybe this is going to sound judgy to people. Maybe if there's people, I don't know that anybody on this live stream is a super embracer of conservative Christianity, but I realize there are people out there who do, and I don't want to alienate those people. But at the same time, I'm looking at it going, he's a fundie. There's something about his manner that tells me, and he's a male fundie who has kind of a messiah complex. Like that kind of jumped out at me right away. He's somebody who thinks he is, he's very, the reason I bring him up, because he has a lot to do with perfection. And and what it seems from the different videos that, and there's reasons why I have seen this video that are connected to somebody else who I watch regularly. But basically he was called out recently on this one channel because somebody asked this other channel about whether or not he was lip syncing things. Now he's a vocal coach, so his whole thing is, the proof is in the singing, do it live, that kind of thing. And they're showing these live streams that allegedly are him singing and playing guitar live. And basically what was pointed out through software, that this was not, they pointed it out through software that he was not, that he was not singing live, or at least that certain portions of it were not live. So let me just pause for a minute. I want to be part of a psychology project in Switzerland next year. That is awesome. Are you going to take them up on it? That would be really, really cool. Congratulations on that. Switzerland, yeah, that's young territory. So yeah, that would be amazing if you could do that. This is Joanne posting. So yeah, that's really good news. With regard to the singer, so what immediately started happening was anybody who commented on him and saying, oh, did you dub any part of this, or did you mime any part of this? He immediately started deleting comments, and he made some kind of a video basically gaslighting everybody, saying, you're all liars, you're just looking for clickbait. And basically he is going through saying, I'm the best singer there ever was. Like he's talking about like Mick Jagger, Sebastian Bach, different people, and going, how they could have been better if they did it like he did it. There's a big ego there, but his early music is all Christian metal, okay? And I was just like, ugh, that just gives me, I can't. That is a genre I cannot tolerate, and so I was like, oh great, we have the person who's saved, and he thinks he's like the music messiah here. But he immediately started criticizing people, and this other person who has this other channel sent him like this 5-page letter slamming his cover videos because he wasn't singing them in E, he was singing them in C instead. And as this person had said to me in a private message, they were like, yeah, he's basically criticizing me for not singing in a female vocal range. Like, it was like really weird stuff. And yeah, you would think a striper. Yeah, oh my God, yeah. It's yeah. And yes, and I do hope you take that up, Joanne. That just sounds really fantastic. Who was the voice coach? I dated someone like that who was a voice coach. His name, he's an American guy, Ken Tamplin, his name is. He's got kind of this long blonde hair, and he's got this face that I wouldn't trust. I know it's, I know. Yeah, Joanne's still in disbelief. That's great. So we've got kind of two things going on here. We've got Joanne's great news about going to Switzerland, which I think is so cool. Like, it's a really effing cool thing. And then I'm talking about this other thing. But the reason I bring this guy up is because, okay, well, first of all, he's supposed to be a Christian. He's supposed to be a guy who's saved. And all he's doing is walking around gaslighting, like he's doubling down. He's doing actually kind of the American political thing. And there was one British guy who called him out. He's like, Ken, it's like you're running a cult over here. It's like your vocal academy is like a freaking cult. He called that out kind of pretty quickly. Okay, not my ex, but I guess they're all like that, haha. Well, I mean, some of them could be. Music teachers there's a wide variety of them. I mean, some of them are just, really laid back and really cool. And then there's others who just kind of, I don't know what it is. I guess there's some people who can get like that. That's, I think about it, what often in esoteric circles they refer to as kind of like this Tiferet type complex, where somebody reaches some kind of they're very successful at something, like particularly something very creative. And they decide, this can happen with people with religion too, but they think that they're and then they get to this point where they say, I'm perfection now. I'm the one that everybody should emulate. I'm Jesus Christ come back, And when you see that kind of an attitude, it's really funny, because didn't Azrael say a couple months ago that false messiahs don't stand? Like, they're not going to. And certainly in the music world, and I think the sad part is that this guy probably actually, I think he legitimately knows how to sing and play guitar and stuff, but he's just made this decision that he's going to be a major jerk, and because he's called out, because that's just allergic to that, yeah. And he... But it's interesting, because somebody was saying, oh, well, it's just this one live show. Maybe he had a cold or something and he did it. Of course, he's still not admitting that that's the case. He's saying, well, of course I use backing track. Like, all these great bands use backing tracks. Nobody's talking about him using backing tracks. Because all the people who are music producer are like, come off of it. You're full of it. Like, you did this. Just apologize or just say, yeah, you know what? I did that in a few places. I really wanted it to be perfect. Like, there's a lot of excuses this guy could have used. And instead, he's just chosen to double down and turn around and call everybody else liars, which is something we're pretty used to in the political sphere here in the USA. And he actually was weird, because he was talking about fake news media and stuff. And I'm like, you sound so right-wing talking like this, these kinds of talking points. And you're talking about your music academy. Like, it's just so bizarre. But he actually trolls, harasses, and slams from multiple accounts. He will go after the people who call him out. And basically try to say, like this other person, he was trying to say to him, like, oh, well, we're going to have the sing off. And the other person's like, number one, I'm not a vocal coach. Number two, I didn't say there was anything wrong with your voice. And number three, it's like, it's an extremely like childish kind of response. But the point I'm making about reason I bring this guy into the conversation with this is because he has to do with he's basically the whole thing. And actually somebody else called him out on this. When you start out as a singer, when you start out doing anything creative, you're not starting out in a space where you're perfect, okay? And so that gets back to our ideas of new beginnings here. When you walk into a new space, when you're trying to do something new for the first time, you're not necessarily going to do it right the first time. Maybe you will. Maybe you'll be lucky. Let's see, Alex, they're that way. There's people in every corner of interest. It makes it hard to enjoy their talents. Right, because it's just about... they create that element of, like that Five of Swords energy. They create that element of envy or comparison, or having to prove that they're the greatest. And that's a very narcissistic thing, Seriously, though, it seriously limits your artistic growth. Well, it does, because, and unfortunately, this guy who had millions of followers, now they said he's just kind of plummeted because people are looking at him and saying, and the thing is, if he admitted to what he had done, he might have lost a couple of people, but probably people would have been forgiving and said, okay, you know, everybody's doing that these days. They're trying to make everything sound perfect. But because he did it in the way he did, they're all like, well, you're an a-hole. So, it's just weird though. It's weird the way, there's this obsession with perfection. I feel like this is also one of those outgoing Pluto and Capricorn things. This obsession with, I have to be ambitious. I have to be the best. I have to be better than everybody else. I have to make more than everybody else. I have to do it in a short period of time. That's what a lot of people will promise too. They'll say like, oh, within X number of, within 2 weeks, you're going to be this way or you're going to be that way. Things take time, and we are where we are for a reason. Okay, and whether it has to do with anything artistic or just our general lives, you're here for a reason. And the message that I was getting this morning, I got some incredible cards this morning. It's just said, we need to stop feeling guilty about who we are, where we are, and stop reevaluating the past and going, oh, maybe I didn't do that right. Maybe I should have done that better. Or maybe where I am right now, like, okay, I've achieved this, and this, but I really don't have this, and I don't know that I can achieve. We immediately start getting into that space. I think Azrael was calling me out on this morning because, like I said, he makes a lot of predictions about things that are going to happen and that things that are going on, and they're not always immediately apparent that that's what's happening. But he literally said to me, which is the first time he said this. He's like, you need to change your thoughts, because your thoughts, you're listening to what I'm saying, you're conveying it and going, maybe, he's like, you need to stop doing that, because he says that by doing that, I keep kind of short-circuiting myself. He's like, I'm telling you that it's okay to be where you are. I'm telling you that you're going to have this success. I'm telling you that things are going to change for the better. But you're still walking around with your mind like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, Let's see. Suda, lol, this is why my first reaction is to be defensive to this thought process. Lol. Yeah, exactly. It's our human side popping in. Right, because as soon as we think that there's going to be change, because, like, I don't know, something magically doesn't unfold, like the unicorns don't appear in front of us or something, we kind of are like, oh, I don't know. Like, we're skeptical. We're kind of trained to be skeptical. And skepticism, I'm not saying skepticism is bad. There are times when healthy skepticism is important. And weirdly, that's not always a mental thing. That can be an intuitive thing, too. Where you kind of can smell, bullshit when you smell it. It's just you're kind of like, something's not right. And no matter how earnestly somebody says something, it's a matter of can you pick out the places where this is kind of very... this is the kind of BS. And so I'm already questioning things. Well, that's it. But there you go. It's kind of like we're coming into awareness. The awareness card also came up this morning, which is like the Chariot. And they're saying, we have to be aware of what's real. And unfortunately, what we've latched onto is what our external experience is. And feeling that this is, we're talking about living in the present, but we're feeling like that things are constantly in a state of change. Okay, things are constantly in a state of flux, even if there's times when it doesn't feel like it, because there may be certain things that we want to achieve that maybe we're not achieving right now. And so we're saying, okay, well, so we start finding kind of fault with everything that goes on around us. But the card that came up again was the existence card, and it was just, go out and look at the stars, go out and enjoy the world. Enjoy the space that you're in and where you are. I was thinking about that yesterday. I had to go out yesterday, and and I'm thinking, should I be home doing more things? Maybe I'm not doing enough with the school right now. Maybe I'm not doing enough with, but I'm out driving, and the hills out here are so beautiful. It's been sunny here. And you can just see like all the colors are starting to pop in the mountains, and it's around here. Or really, they're more like hills than mountains, but nonetheless, it's just all colorful. And I'm driving, and I'm like, I literally just want to take a day to just drive around and look at this. I don't want to have to spend all my time feeling like somehow I have to be doing something every single second, or I missed an opportunity, or this isn't going to happen, or that's going to happen. It's kind of like, no, just flow into it, just flow into what's going on. And when the existence card comes up in this deck, I often feel like it's pointing to the fact that, again, there's a bigger picture. And oftentimes we're only seeing things in terms of the bubble that we live in, whatever that is. And because all of us, to some degree, exist in a bubble. And I don't mean that in the sense that we are, ignoring things that are outside of what we want to see. I don't mean that. What I mean that is that we have a milieu that we live in. We have a house. We have a neighborhood. We have friends. We have maybe some people may have partners or spouses or children or whatever it is. You have this kind of community, and the people in your community tend to be people who maybe, at least the people you associate with, maybe people who are like you or think like you or kind of in that. So we're kind of in our own space. And of course, there's a wider world, not only a world that we live in, of people who may be different or may think differently. And, and certainly, that's certainly one thing about America, like the American exceptionalism thing. America's a great country, but it's not, speaking of what I was just talking about, this Ken Tamplin guy, it's not like we're the greatest in the world. I mean, yeah, we have a huge military, but, and it is a huge country in terms of size, but, there's a lot of ways that we're not the greatest in the world. I mean, we have probably we don't have a very good healthcare system in this country. Yeah. I mean, other countries, they can have issues as well, but we don't, there's a lot that is wrong with just the day-to-day living. I go to other countries and people go, wait, what, you have to do that? Like that, it just, yeah. But Americans sometimes tend to act as though we are the best or we're the only ones. And that's why with Joanne, this is how I can bring Joanne to the conversation. So going to Switzerland, I don't know, have you been abroad before, Joanne? Have you, I know you've traveled extensively, like in the West and everything, but I don't know if you've been abroad before. Because if you haven't, I mean, definitely go. I mean, it's so good to be able to get out. Okay, Alex is saying, I'm having a hard time with individuality. I feel like that can happen with the artist and the voice coach you're talking about. We have to assert who we think we are fiercely. Yes. Oh, okay, and Joanne's been to Italy and to the UK. Okay, cool. So, yeah, so Switzerland's a new place. So to Alex's point, yeah. And I think that's too probably why we're getting a lot of the Five of Wands, Five of Swords kind of energy. We feel like we're in competition with people all the time. And you feel like you have to fiercely assert who you are. Like individual versus collective. Well, and you know what? It's interesting. That reminds me of, remember when I was a child? I was a very active child. I was a very vocal child. Like I said, very verbal. I read from the time I was very young. And I liked adults and adult conversation. And I liked to be in the room, and it was just almost kind of like, well, who do you think you are to kind of be in this space? Like, I felt like I was condescended to a lot of the time. And and even as I got older, and this is something that I think a lot of women experience, where you're at the table and you're presenting your voice or your point of view, and somebody immediately starts talking over you. I have members of my family that still do that to me to this day. I could be in the middle of telling them something, and they will literally just cut me off, and basically it's almost like saying, yeah, we're done listening to you. We're not really listening to you, and we're really done hearing the sound of your voice. And what I used to do as a child, when people would do that to me, is I would talk louder. And my mother would get very annoyed with me. She'd be like, stop that, stop yelling, stop talking loudly. But it's because I'm not being heard. And that does raise a very important point, is that a lot of people, and I think a lot of people, here I am coughing this morning, we're going to weave all of this into the discussion, is that a lot of times we feel that our voice is not heard. And so it's interesting that we're talking about a guy who's trying to push people's voices where they don't need to go. That's one complaint I have about vocal coaches, is that they will try to get you to sing out of your range, and then they end up destroying your vocal cords. I mean, in addition to the fact that I'd had rhinoplasty when I was younger, when I had a singing ability, I always had teachers who were trying to push me higher and higher and higher out of my range, which I'm sure did not help things. But it's also, that's the idea of somebody else controlling your voice, right? It's the idea of somebody else is going to control your voice, when you're going to use it and how you're going to use it. And so we feel like we have to yell more loudly and be more in your face to get that point across. But the thing is, but here's where the feminine comes in. Because with the feminine, it's like there's not a need to do that. It's not that we should always be passive or be a doormat or let people wash over us and what we're doing. But oftentimes when you create something, it's like it speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. Some people will be interested in what you're doing. Some people won't be. Yes, exactly, is what Alex is saying. Yes. Introvert in the workplace problem is what she says. Well, yeah, certainly, yeah. And certainly if you're an introvert, you're not the kind of person who wants to stand there and start beating your chest and yelling. You know, that's not, I can tell you that was never my way. I became vocal only later in life. When I was younger, I reached a period of time where I stopped talking. Where part of it was because I was turning internally and I was dealing with a lot of experiences that I found when I spoke about them externally, I wasn't getting any support or understanding for what was happening. So I just stopped talking to people. I just stopped talking to people about it. Because at that time there was nobody to talk about this stuff with. Maybe a couple of friends, you know, but that was about it. And even those friends, I mean, they didn't necessarily understand either, even if they, you know, they would try to be supportive. Yep, same here. This is what Pat's saying, yeah. And so you eventually, it kind of gets back to the thing, and this might have been a conversation that Pat and I were having, but it kind of gets to the thing that when you feel like you're, well, this is it, when you're on your own, maybe that's why we get the aloneness card too. When you're on your own and you don't feel like you have somebody, at least in the external world, to guide you. We may have spirit guides and things, but if you don't have anybody to guide you, then you have to find your own way. But the reality is everybody has to find their own way. The people who feel like they're supported all the way through life, okay? Now, unless you have parents, and there's a lot of people, I've seen a lot of parents that do this, that will be with their kids and will just basically kind of try to give them the space to be who they are. If you have a parent who's very accepting of you, no matter what, there's a lot of parents who try to project things maybe that they didn't do in life onto their kids. And then if the kid wants to do something and they say, no, I want you to do this. You're going to be this because I've said you're going to do this, or I'm paying for this, or I'm doing that. I mean, I've run into that. But I think a lot of times, there's a lot of parenting now about just kind of saying, okay, let your child be who they want to be. Or there just may be other situations where the child feels like they have to grow up very quickly. In any case, I think probably all of us have had different experiences where the person that we are is not accepted by the family that we're in, or even by the group we're in, maybe at school. I took control, but I've been reconditioning. Retook control, but you've been reconditioning myself too. Okay, that's what Pat's saying. Well, that's just it. We come into an awareness. You go through a certain period of life where you're trying to do certain things. And I think a lot of times what we don't realize is a lot of those things we're doing are around social approval. Okay, they're around social approval. They're the way in which we're trying to do what we think is going to make us a good, productive member of society. And I mean, and again, that's normal human development. You know, it's sort of like, okay, what are our individual gifts and how do we use them to help the collective? But instead what tends to happen in a culture that has no myth, that's not myth-driven. I mean, it is myth-driven in a way, but not in the ways that we might have seen where you might have a tribe that had one central belief or something. And incidentally, I should just be clear before I go any further that I'm not suggesting that we need to go back to some time when we all had the same religious belief or something. I'm not suggesting that at all. But we are in a world where one of the reasons I promote myths so heavily is because we need guide signs to get us through life. Life is more than just going to work and collecting a paycheck. There's more to it than that. But a lot of times we don't know what else we should be doing. And if we're not just spending all of our time going to work collecting a paycheck, if we do something else for ourselves, or we spend money on something other than something that we think should be, you know, at the bottom of that hierarchy of needs or whatever, like we feel like we have to justify every aspect of our existence to other people. And what it's being saying is it's like, it's okay. You can let go and you can just enjoy where you're at. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be perfect at everything. You don't, and there may be something that you're really, really good at, but maybe you're also opening the door to learning something new, you know? It's not just, you don't have to be confined into an identity that you think other people are going to approve of. Now again, I'm not advocating for people to so suddenly turn into like major a-holes and things, but it's just and a lot of times too, when people lash out in anger or lash out in certain ways, it's because they're frustrated and they're tired of being in a space where, and again, the person who they may be angry at may have nothing to even do with the issue. I need to put that message on my wall or something, is what Sam is saying. It's, yeah. We do what we do, and we get, and ultimately, when you let go and you trust in what's going on, you get what you need. Because, things are around for as long as they're supposed to be around, and then they fall away. And right now, we're really actually at a really good crossroads, like a really good place of opportunity, because the place that we're at is where all of this astrological stuff's going on. Now, there's a lot of people predicting doom and gloom, but it's not really a doom and gloom situation. I mean, Pluto's moving into Aquarius. We're moving out of this energy that says, we need to work 80 hours a week. We're moving out of that space. We're moving into space with innovation where, yes, we're going to have new challenges. I got a message from somebody today on my Katonia account. She's saying, by the way, if you use Zoom for your classes, turn AI off because they're taking they're scraping anything that you do and they're using it for their own AI training. So I was like, oh yeah, good point. Let me turn that off. So we're going to have challenges with artificial intelligence. And I think this is why I'm so heavily focused on myth and creativity, is because it's like, okay, I think we need to move into space where if you want to take control of something as a human, you want to take control of your own voice. You don't want to let a machine write things for you. You don't want to just be driven by, am I going to be financially successful at this? You'll have the financial success that you need, but we all go through these things, and we all have decisions that we have to make along the way to figure out what our path's going to be. It's rarely a straight path, and sometimes we may move forward and only have to take a few steps back. These things do happen and they do go on. But that is the nature of things. We have to look at the narrative that we've been sold and whether or not we're just kind of going along with it. And as I said yesterday, it's easier to go along with the template than to invent something new, Does Azrael, it's close, I think just the A and the E reversed, talk about AI? That's a good question. Has he mentioned AI to me? I don't think we've had a specific conversation about it because the conversations, as they are, seem to be mainly around what's going away, because he has a lot to do with major change, with getting rid of what is gone, what is done, and so he's been more focused on that right now. But that is a conversation that I can have with him, because I'm free to ask questions of him. I mean, I can ask him about that, like what he says about AI, and about the future. But the only thing I can say that he has said to me definitively about the future is that, we're all predicting this dystopian kind of society, and he says no, that's not what it is. He said you're moving into a space where play and art should be more important and more central. And it may well be that because we're already seeing what the limitations are of AI, or the problems with it. Of what it does, of what it cannibalizes, and what it does, that people may be starting already to say no. This is not the way we're going to use this. There could be some very good uses. There's some very potentially good uses for AI, but replacing us, as we're trying to replace everything in us that's human, it's just not ever going to do it. I don't care what they say to me about, oh yes, but once it learns enough. No, because it's assuming that what we learn from intellectual knowledge, from written knowledge, from book knowledge, it thinks it can learn about everything, including human emotions. AI scares me, Cybermen. Well, I don't know that it's going, I think there's this projection that this is going to be a big thing. But there's been a lot of things that have projected. Think about the whole virtual reality stuff that went on in the early 2000s, or Mark Zuckerberg's vision of, this alternate world. I'm like, nobody cares. You know what I mean? They're like, it's the next big thing. And AI is kind of finding its way into a lot of things. It can't learn from experience like human, though, in theory. Well, no, it can't. And because AI doesn't have a soul. And I know there's a lot of people in the science side saying, yes, but there's no proof of a soul. Look, there is a bigger picture. There is a soul. There is a bigger reality to us. we're kind of taught to believe that, oh, maybe it's a construct in our brains. Our brains don't have anything to do with it. AI can only deal with what's in that space. Now, it can potentially come up with other ideas and things through its learning, but it's never going to be a human being. The only people who believe that AI is going to be a perfect copy of a human being are people who believe that we're just meat with eyes. Okay? And Suda says, interesting. Data and sentiment analysis, yes, but not from intuition. Yeah, AI cannot be intuitive if you see how it works. It'll never have a body or a spirit in a body, right? It's not it's not going to be able to, in other words, you won't see an AI that's going to be able to channel a spirit, okay? You're not going to be able to see that. You're not going to be able to see an AI. I mean, you can get like machine generated tarot readings and stuff like that, but even that doesn't connect in. It's not something that AI is really doing, you know? It lacks essence. Yeah, exactly. That's the right word, Pat. That would be definitely the right philosophical word, essence. It doesn't have essence is it comes from the word, from être, to be, right? It's, we may see us converging and augmenting ourselves with AI. It could be. AI, I think, there's a lot of great uses for AI in medical technology, for instance. In the ways in which AI can pick up on certain things or catch certain things that maybe other instrumentation does not. I've heard about that. AI sometimes, if we go back to singing, there's a country singer, I forget what his name is now. But he had some kind of, I don't know if he had throat cancer or something, but he lost his ability to sing, but he still wanted to write music. So he was able to use AI to recreate his voice. Now, mind you, he did this himself. It wasn't somebody else doing this with the machine. He was able to use the technology to recreate his voice so he could sing the song, so to speak. And Suda's talking about neural implants, prosthetics, etc., and AI enhancements. Yeah, I don't know. I'm always wary of these things like neural implants and stuff like that. I mean, there's people who are very excited about this idea. I'm not excited about that idea. I don't, and I don't understand people saying oh, I want, instead of having to carry a computer around, I just want a neural implant that'll do all that. Well, I do not understand the need for that. And I would not want that. We're talking about wanting to get away from it, and now you want it implanted in your body. That's beautiful. Yeah, it's just, it's just strange. But anyway, let's get on to our reading because we're almost a quarter of. Okay, I'm not saying it'll get done, just saying it's happening. It'll get done. No, you'll get it done. No, I understand what you're saying, totally. But you're right. This is something that seems to be, that's being talked about a lot. But I don't necessarily like the people who are talking about it. I don't know, and I think if they started rolling something like that out, I think they would see, just like with AI. Just one more note on that. I have a friend who I play D&D with on Tuesdays, and my friend's son, who is he works in game development. That's what he does. And he said, the problem is, everybody jumped on AI. All these companies bought into it. They're doing it it's going to give us shortcuts on this. They fired a lot of their artists because they said, well, AI is just going to do it for us. They said, but AI can only scrape from other things. It can't come up with anything original on its own. And when it tries to do it, the results are absolute, they're garbage, they're rubbish, they're terrible. And so it's constantly looking for something to feed on. And the thing is, what they're trying to do now is trying to a lot of the social media companies are trying to take our content and feed it into AI. But even so, it's a lot of garbage that's coming out. And now they're finding that what AI produces is so bad, they have to hire artists and other people back just to fix what AI did. It's not the cheap alternative anymore, because everybody's about the bottom line. This is cheaper than using a person. They're doing it with actors, right? That was a big part of the actors and the writers' strike. That, well, we're just going to take an AI copy of your likeness, and then we don't have to hire you for movies anymore. We can buy your likeness, and they're like, no, you can't. Wonktastic. Okay. Sam, yes, indeed, to recreate his voice, recreating his sovereignty is amazing. No thanks. Yeah, there was, and that's the thing. It's like anything. It's like all of the elements, right? I was talking about this in a podcast, actually the podcast will be coming out Monday. When we talk about, things that are elements, like if we talk about fire, if we talk about water, Now water is something we use to bathe in, right? We use to purify. You drink water. It has a positive effect. We think about it as being connected to the emotions, like going to water to soothe yourself. But then again, you can have something like the hurricane that just went through Florida. That's a very destructive aspect of water and wind. Okay. Earth, we love the earth, but of course, there can be earthquakes. There's things that go on. Fire, that's the old one, it can cook your food or it can burn your house down. They're all, AI in and of itself is not an evil. It's a question of how it's used, like everything else. It's a question of how it's used. And so the challenge of Pluto in Aquarius is to show us how to properly use it, right? And now, I don't know, we might say, oh, well, humans, will humans learn, will humans not learn? I don't know. I feel like sometimes these things come in when we have these big cataclysmic things like COVID-19, for instance, when you have something that's like almost like a plague that's sent. Think about it in Greek mythology. When the plagues are sent, that's when people stop and they question what's going on. What's causing, what's happening here? What needs to be, where do we need to step back? And sometimes it has an additional effect, like in that case, when people couldn't go out and do the same, I'm going to work 80 hours a week in the office thing. People started to go, oh, wait, there's life outside of this. I could, I could do something else, So there's everything is connected to each other, and it's not always just a straightforward, it's getting away from the dualistic, this is good or this is bad. It's a question of how you use it. So our central card for today is sorrow. Yeah. That gets into the whole thinking things, the sorrow, because a lot of times we're thinking about what we don't have rather than what we do have. But what's happening right now too is healing. Okay, so a lot of us here, we're going through things, and I know I've talked about this with a number of people where where we're going through a whole healing process, and a lot of times when we go through healing or when we're on a particular spiritual path, we feel like that we should automatically feel better right off the bat. We may feel better for periods of time, but then it's almost like whatever hasn't been integrated, it's almost like we've cleaned one closet out in the house and it's like, okay, there's still the rest of the house that we have to do. There's this kind of thing. And so we may feel a sorrow here. We may feel, we may catastrophize. We may feel that we're, things are never going to be different. Things are going to be this, things are going to be that. And this is saying, but there's a healing going on inside. Think about the fact, like if you have a wound and that wound starts itching like crazy, and it annoys you, but that itching indicates that it's healing. Okay, it's that kind of an energy, I think. And the external feeling of which we're aware, this is the Four of Pentacles, wanting to kind of stay where we are. That's the problem in this process of, and although the process of healing could also mean that maybe because we're still healing, we're not really quite ready to move forward, right? So there's still this letting go of this, and but we've got this Rebel card. This is about breaking the chains. It's about being who you are. This fear of things kind of never changing. Okay, it kind of tends to keep us in place. But this is saying no. This is exactly what I said. You taking charge of your own destiny and your own story, but not in a way where we have to trample other people. Or step on other people, or say I'm great and you suck. It's not that kind of a trampling. The person who is truly in this space is somebody who is their own person, and they're perfectly fine with other people being their own person too. That's what it is. It's not that I have to prove that I'm better than you. If I have to run around doing things to prove that I'm somehow the best at something, it's pretty transparent what the issue is, Yes, you just said, I don't, you are who you are. And what's yours comes to you, So don't compromise. Okay, we've got Six of Pentacles. Here's the outcome. Don't compromise, A lot of times we do, or we feel that we have to compromise just to hang on to what we've got. But this is saying, no, that's not really, the message that we all seem to be getting is no, don't compromise your truth. Obviously, we all have to do what we have to do to get on in life. We all have jobs that we may or may not love in some cases. But the thing is, if we're meant to move on from those jobs, then we will certainly get those signs. Sometimes when things start to go south, that's when people start getting the thing of like, you know what, this isn't a comfortable place. I'm not comfortable here anymore. I think the problem comes in when people are really not comfortable and then they say, but you know, I can't change it. Like that's where you have the Eight of Swords energy. I hate this, but I can't change it. And it's like, well, things are changing though, you know, good for it. You know, what an amazing opportunity. Good for you. Oh, it's, yeah. So, dealing with that RN. Yeah, it's, you know, just trying to, I think we're, like I said, there's definitely the space of doing something new. It should be go, not good. Go for it is what she's saying. She didn't say good for it. She was saying go for it. Okay, now I get it. Yeah, exactly. And go for it. And I'm hoping now that Joanne has had this opportunity, that an opportunity is going to follow for me, that I'm going to have my opportunity to go over to the UK and stay over there. And maybe it would be nice if I could just sell my house and go. But I don't know. But and that's another thing that's been predicted for in the not too distant future. So I'm looking out for that open door, let me tell you. But yeah, but see how these opportunities can come up just from somewhere, and they're not necessarily something we planned, you know. But it'll happen. And Jenny's saying it'll happen. Oh yeah, it definitely will. And I feel like it may be happening sooner. Although again, at the moment, I'm not quite sure how that's going to play out. But again, that's part of it too. One of the cards that kept coming up was stars, was a star card. I'd be basically traveling, giving seminars on the method. Okay, well that's cool. I say go for it, you know. Do it. I mean, it's an opportunity to expand your horizons, to do something different. And this is definitely the mode that we're all moving into, you know. So I think that's fantastic. And it's interesting too, because I've been seeing a lot about people's career choices and things changing in a way that maybe you don't expect. So we'll see what that means for everybody. But interesting questions today and discussions. And again, congratulations to Joanne on that opportunity. And I didn't get to a ghost story today, but I do hope that you are. Welcome. I'm glad for joining. We're actually just about to end. So I hope this reading was helpful to you guys today. And if you missed any of it, you can go back and watch the recording. But yeah, we're at 7:52. Cards yet to be played, details still to be worked out. Yes, exactly. And well, that's what we were kind of talking about. Definitely unexpected out of nowhere for Joanne. Yeah, I think that's great. Oh, you're welcome. And I hope you guys have a great. I can't believe it's Friday again already. But anyway, I hope you all have. You're welcome. I hope you all have a great Friday. And I'll be back tomorrow. I guess that makes tomorrow Saturday. I don't even know what day it is anymore. Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. And like I said, some of you I will see on Sunday. And yes, and and Sam, by the way, I know is starting to do some readings. I saw you post about that, so definitely check that out, because those color readings sound like they're really cool. So definitely check that out on her page. Okay, thank you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow.